click is all it takes to lose everything.
We are in a cyber war. You can either be a defendant or you can be a victim.
What you can learn from the Marriott breach is that you need to go in and ask 3 questions on a regular basis. And those 3 questions are quite simple. Do we have any servers accessible from the internet that are missing a patch? A patch is basically the vendor telling you that there's a vulnerability or an exposure, and a patch is a way to fix it. So an unpatched system is an accident waiting to happen. And I hate to tell you this, but many companies, many IT folks, sometimes think patching is too hard. They sometimes come up with reasons not to patch. Sometimes some of your lower level managers will say, oh, patching's not important. So believe it or not, you will probably have systems that are accessible from the internet in an exposed state and not realize it. You need to ask that question. Do we have any systems accessible from the internet that are missing patches? Second, do we have any servers accessible from the internet that contain critical customer data? Once again, we don't have all the details of Marriott, but from what we can see is they had a server visible from the internet that had vulnerabilities, missing patches, and had their critical customer data. So those are 2 big no-nos. 2 big no-nos out there. Any system accessible from the internet always needs to be locked down, always needs to be secure, no exceptions. And your data should never be accessible from the internet. If Marriott would have followed those 2 rules, we would not be having this conversation. This breach would not have happened. Now I'm going to give you a bonus question. Now those 2 will keep you safe and protected. But what Marriott brought to life, the information they did tell us, is they had their data encrypted. Now encryption is just like a lock. Just like a lock on a door. Now let me ask you a question. If I have a lock on a door, that lock only works if the key is properly protected. Well, what we found out in the case of Marriott is they had encrypted data with the key stored plain text with the data. Defeats the purpose, right? That's like leaving the lock in the key, right? Sorry, keeping the key in the lock, right? Defeats the whole purpose of doing that. So the third question you want to ask is, if our data is encrypted, which it should be if it's sensitive, are the keys stored on a separate server? That's it. You don't have to get technical, but as an executive, you have to ask 3 questions. Are there any servers accessible from the internet that are missing patches? Are there any servers accessible from the internet that contain critical data? And if our critical data is encrypted, are the keys stored on a separate server? If you can get answers to those questions, if you can get them asked on a regular basis, you will avoid the mistakes of Marriott. And if Marriott's executives asked those 3 simple questions, this breach could have been avoided. So learn from Marriott, protect your data, and protect your customers.